Ahmed Oyelowo, because he's one of the few people that I know deeply does Power BI on, I think maybe he even does it day, morning and afternoon and night and and even weekends, and there's no way you will do something at that intense level that you won't know things that other people won't know. And let's just even leave out the certifications and the MVP award. That amount of work for different clients and all means he's going to be exposed to a lot more than many of us. And so it's a delight that today he's going to be sharing with us on one aspect of a Power BI that many people don't use much. To see, including me, I know that I can use it more. Okay, so this is going to be a very interesting session, and without taking any more time from the hour that he's having with us, I'm going to call up stage the one and only, I think he's, apart from even being MVP, he's the what award do they give someone who is the best known name in that space in Nigeria? So join me as I call up Ahmed Oyelowo. So the stage is yours, sir, and you can carry us away. You can then share your screen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for bringing me onto this platform, Michael. I don't know where those statistics are coming from anyway.
From Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, from LinkedIn Society, from everywhere.
Okay, so but one thing I know really is that I feel like there are so many gurus in the space, a lot of gurus in the space that, really find them, post out their content. But in terms of what they have, there is one guy that works for Google. I can't remember his name right now. Who is, for me, the best Power Query person I've ever seen is that guy. He doesn't really put out content. I don't know why he doesn't do that, but the guy is extremely
what's his name?
excellent.
Maybe we can also go and look for him. And
yeah, I'll check out his name. I'll check out his name and send it to you after maybe after today's session. So he's an excellent guy. Power Query wise, excellent, extremely. I think he's even a guru in the M language. So
wow.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are currently joining us from. And today, I'm just going to be introducing us to something that I think is not extremely difficult. It's basically, I don't want to mention it now, but let's start with introductions first. So my name is Ahmed Oyelowo, and Microsoft Certified Trainer and Microsoft MVP. Looking forward to, different application that I'm going to talk about shortly. Then I work for Foresight BI and Analytics as the lead trainer and managing partner. I'm a Power BI advocate and 21st century learning advocate. Okay, so that's the new certification I'm trying to achieve. 21st century learning advocate. There is a Microsoft certification that is called MCE, which is Microsoft Certified Educator. And what that basically does is, to show us the gaps between how our educational system has been over the years and what it should look like in the 21st century. So basically, if you think about it, we all, maybe not all of us, but I would say most of us basically went to a crap schools, because if you think about it, nearly everything in the world is changing till today. The only thing that has not changed is the classroom setting. Classroom setting still remains the same thing as it was many years ago. And the setting back then basically was designed for the industrial age, whereby we just basically have to take instructions and work based on those instructions. That was how our classroom and our educational system was designed in the past. But things have changed from that time to where we are now, where the 21st century, basically, we need to start learning to solve problems. We need to create knowledge by ourselves. We need to be very, very innovative and a lot of other things like that. We need to be able to collaborate more. And that's how our classrooms are meant to be set. And I'll also try to run the training in that manner as well, or let's say run the webinar in that manner. Okay, so we're going to discuss something, but before I introduce you to what we are going to discuss, I would like to first of all share, I'm going to share a file, I'm going to attach a file to chats. So let me try and go to chats and see if I can attach a file there. Would that be possible?
That's one problem with our team. So sometimes you don't know. What I used to do is try to drag it.
Right.
What if you're able to bring the file folder, and then let's see if the dragging works. Maybe it will work. It's looking like he's saying that
it didn't work, but what I'll just do is let me just share the file anyway. So basically, before we look into what we are trying to do, I'm going to share, to open a document for us to read through. Maybe within 2, 3, or 5 minutes, we are going to read through that document. Okay. So I want us to go through this very quickly. Please confirm that you can see my MS Word document.
Yes, sir. Yes, we can.
I'm still going to explain what we are looking at, but I would like us to read through silently.
You can also copy it and paste the content since it doesn't have images. So
yeah,
those data too can catch, but we can still read it like you said. It would be nice.
Yeah, so I'm still going to read it, but then I want us to go through it quickly. Come on. Okay, so I've pasted it in chats. Let's look at the documents. Read through silently for like 2 minutes. Then I'm now going to read it out again and try to explain what this is all about. Or it's not going to take us a lot of time to complete it. We should be able to complete everything within the hour. So I'm going to use Michael as a guide. So when Michael is done, I'll be sure that, a larger part of the attendees are also done reading.
Okay, I mean, things to note.
Okay, so things to note.
This is really interesting. I'm done, Sham.
Okay, so Michael is done. So I'm not going to read the case study myself, for everyone's hearing. So basically, the background is this. You are a Power BI developer for a multinational company. So let's assume that we call you the analyst general for that multinational company because you are going to be given a task for the entire company worldwide. The company has offices in different countries or cities, according to this case study, and there are more than 50 offices in total. They've gone through a Power BI training for everyone in the organization, just like a basic Power BI training for all operational staff, including sales and marketing. Now, the sales and marketing team in each country or each city will start testing out Power BI because they've just been introduced to Power BI, right? And they are going to be managing their own reports starting from Power BI desktop. So the expectation is that each team is going to have a Power BI desktop file that they are going to start managing from where everything starts. Okay, so because in the what do we call this stuff? So in the Power BI build up, I can't remember the exact word to use now, but in Power BI, how will I put it now? The flow of activity in Power BI usually starts from Power BI desktop before you publish reports to Power BI online service where you can now share with everyone. And then people that have Power BI mobile can view those reports on the Power BI mobile. But this solution that you're about to develop is meant for testing, because what it is required is that every sales and marketing team across each country should be able to manage everything from Power BI desktop, right? So they are starting out. And then for this solution you are going to create as the analyst general, there are a couple of things to note. Number one is that you will have a data set that you are going to use to create that Power BI desktop solution, which is going to be a download from a centralized ERP, okay? This download does have, download has information for all the countries and all the cities, right? However, each country analyst, by the time you are done with this, each country analyst is supposed to be able to refresh the report. So the expectation is you create a solution on Power BI desktop, you send it to all the 50 different offices. Each office should be able to refresh the reports when you are done. That means each office will have to connect to their own data, right? Because if they don't connect to the data, then they can't refresh. And each country will only want to focus on their own reports, ignoring other countries or other cities. And then finally, every branch sales and profit are recorded in US dollars, right? But a conversion has to be done to ensure that the currency is taken back to their native currency. So assume Nigeria, for example, right? So let's assume Nigeria. When you download the reports, it's going to come in US dollars, but this solution on desktop will have to view the reports in Naira, okay? So you have been asked to develop the initial Power BI desktop solution for this. Now, thinking about it, what's required is a simple Power BI desktop that you need to send to the 50 different offices. Now, the question is, looking at all of these things, considering all of these things, how do you think is the best way to go about this? Does anyone have an idea what the best solution should look like? What do you think we need to do? We have 50 offices and you have the data, all right? However, when you send to each of the 50 offices, they need to be able to refresh, and data source is going to be Excel. Apart from the fact that they need to be able to refresh, they also need to filter the data to show only their own country or their own city. So they don't want to see the details of all the other countries. At the same time, they need to also convert the sales and profits from USD to their own native currency. So let's first of all take out what are all the options. What are the available options of what we can do? What do you think? Anyone? You can chat. Let's make it very interactive. What do you think we should do?
Please, so let's talk. Don't let this thing start looking like it's just Michael and Ahmed.
I have just 45 minutes, right? And I need to take your opinions first before I move ahead.
So someone has mentioned something in the chat box.
Okay, seem not to be seeing it yet.
Okay, saying, or Mr. D, do you want to talk? You know, it's always maybe when you mention it, people will be ginger to talk.
Yes.
Mr. Dapoda posted the thing.
Hello, sir. Hello, good evening.
Yeah. Good evening.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Oga Ahmed, for having us this evening. So I'm just wondering, reading your case study, I'm just wondering, considering that large volume of data, right, why go through the pain of downloading to Excel first? It's an ERP, so it's a database. So why not connect to a database and then enforce role level security, which will enable each user to be able to see, what's their own particular department. You get what I mean, sir?
I guess.
So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's extremely excellent, excellent stuff you've noted there. However, the point of the case study is that they want everybody in the organization basically to be able to manage Power BI reports from desktop, right? So we can take this as, let's say, a second phase of a Power BI training. So they've gone through a training. Thereafter, they need to be able to allow users to be able to manage reports. So this is just basically, right? Remember that at the end of the day, Power BI is meant to be a self-service BI tool, which means everybody should be able to take Power BI desktop, create reports, publish reports, and share once you have your licenses, okay? So even though the route to go when you deploy a solution is going to be that after you deploy solution, enable low-level security, okay? But this case study is more tied to training and development of the staff to be able to use solutions starting from Power BI desktop, because they are going to be the one managing for their own center, right? So you, the analyst general, is not going to manage for them. They are not going to create low-level securities for them, right? So each team creates their own reports. When it gets to time for them to start doing low-level security, they are going to implement their own low-level security per team. Okay, so this is basically more training focus, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so Temidayo, yeah, I can mention yours.
Okay, can I come in?
Yeah, please.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed, thank you for coming today. Thank you for the awesome section. Okay, what I would have done is that, okay, for Power BI now, because of the volume of the data, I would have prefer uploading the Excel's data to whether OneDrive for business or whether SQL Server. So what I would do, I'll connect my Power BI to the server, because of the volume of the data though. So I'll connect my Power BI to the server so I can access the data from there. And for the different country, basically I'll use a slicer basically for all the countries. The currency also, I'll create like a DAX formula to convert for. Basically, since we're doing it in US dollars, so I've created. But the countries are much.
Yeah, okay.
I think the countries are much actually.
Yeah. So your point is valid. I'm not going to lie. Your point is valid. But I want us to see this in the sense of you are not starting and completing the solution for them, right? So let's say you are not going to publish. At the same time, it's like you are trying to drive their usage of data for them by themselves. You want them to be able to develop reports by themselves. You are just trying to carry them along, assume there's going to be like a next level training after this, okay? So two things I want us to also consider here, which are probably not in the case study, is the fact that let's say we are ignoring the volume of data for now. So let's say it's not voluminous. Yeah, someone's hand is up again.
Yes, thank you. So I just felt,
You're on mute. Mr. D, did you mute yourself again?
Okay, sorry about that. So I felt the analyst general, using your word, can build the initial data model, right, and make it available for them, so which they can download from their Power BI desktop, and from there they can build their own model and publish. They can build their own reports rather and publish. Thank you.
Okay, so just one question. So if you build that initial one, are you looking at like, a couple of things we need to consider? Let me go back to those things. We need to consider that they have to be able to refresh. each one should be able to refresh, right? So the solution is you create a Power BI desktop, and you are going to send that Power BI desktop to all of them. And when you send that Power BI desktop to all of them, everybody needs to be able to refresh. That's one. Two, everybody needs to also, pick their own city or their country alone. That's what they want to see for whatever reason. And then they will also have to, so those three things have to be considered in whatever solution that we are trying to build. So maybe we should take one more before.
Okay, I want to be the last person then. So, hey, plenty of people saying, okay, I will have my own. Maybe we can give them 2 chances. So actually, what you said then is looking a bit similar to one stuff that I had to do, and the company said even though they are doing it at the HQ, but everybody's data is due to data governance. So the other ones act almost as if they're like standalone companies too, and that they don't mix their ERM data. So whatever I do for them, they should be able to give those other people, and those people will switch it to their own data source, switch it to their own stuff, and it should work without them having to call me. So for that kind of a thing, I think it aligns more with the topic of what you want to show us. I'm seeing where that parameter a good sense. So let me stop there. Let me let maybe one other person talk.
Okay. So let Mr. Raphael talk.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's nice to be in this section because I have a serious respect for Boss today because he's an advocate of laziness, and I've learned so much from that and these sections. Okay, so I missed out some parts, but however, I was able to read through the question when he was reading it. So for me, what I would have done was after importing the data, I'll just create a model considering these conditions. Like it was mentioned, I'm not meant to give a finished product because each analyst in each branch will end up doing that to their own taste. And they also have other conditions, different currencies, and how they would like to slice and dice the data. So I think for me, I'll just import in the data, then create a model that will have all the dependencies or requirements that will make it easy for each analyst or other users in all other branches to be able to put the report to their own taste. That's all. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much. So I'm going to start now, and I'm going to start. I'll pick the last phrase that you used there. Pick the reports to their own taste. That's what I want to pick, and that's what I'm going to use to continue the class now, right? So every time you have to develop something like this, where different people have different specifications, and they will also have to, pick to their own taste. That's just the word. They want to pick to their own taste. What that basically means is that you are going to allow for inputs into your development, right? So you want everybody that is using the file to have their own inputs, and they should be able to change things. Now, when people have their own inputs, that's exactly what we refer to as parameters inside Power Query. So if you think about it, you always hear, mostly call it, I don't know whether that's English is correct or not, but I'm sure you must have heard input parameter, input parameter, input parameter. In Power Query, it is just parameters, but you need to know that it allows for input, right? And you know that in computer, something we call garbage in, garbage out, which means what you put in is what you are going to get as your output. So when you change the input, you expect your output to also change, which is exactly what we are trying to do here. First, know that everybody should be able to refresh the data. Now, there can be multiple ways to solve this problem. I'll probably talk about some of the other methods after this, right? Assuming you are trying to develop a solution, a final solution, but this is supposed to be a test, and it's also supposed to, enable users to upskill starting from Power BI desktop. Okay, so we are addressing a skill, but in order to make everything easy for you as a developer, you are supposed to create 50. So I'm assuming that you will have to send email to 50 people. Now, if you have to send an email to 50 people, the question is, do you want to send one single email to all 50 people, or do you want to send 50 different emails to 50 different people to solve this problem? And the answer is this. You are going to send one single email to 50 different people, and you also want to take care of these 4 things to note. That means you're attaching a Power BI desktop file to your email. When it gets to the user, you can assume yourself as the user from the other end. When it gets to you at your own end, you want to be able to probably do something within your own data sets, and you want to be able to click refresh. Let that Power BI desktop I'm sending to you, let it refresh. You want to be able to do that. At the same time, you also want to be able to say that you don't really care about the data of every other person, which means Slicer is not even an issue, because if you are thinking of Slicer, then you are saying that you will have to go and pick your own country or city from the Slicer. You don't want to worry about Slicer. You just want to bring in data that concerns only you. Of course, if you like, you can reduce data from your Excel by yourself. Just go and delete all the other rows yourself. Don't want to do that because we are upskilling our Power BI. Then the final thing is that you will also have to convert, need to convert the numbers in terms of their sales and their profits from USD to your own native currency using a particular exchange rate, okay? That's you from the other end. Now, you that is at this end that is creating this solution, what you basically need to do, once you see that everybody's condition is kind of different, then you are thinking about giving them an opportunity to change inputs from the data prep side of things. And when you are changing inputs from data prep side of things, you are basically creating parameters inside Power Query, okay? Now, remember I said advocate of 21st century learning, right? So what I want you guys to do for me as you follow through this is to think about innovative ways solving solutions, because in 21st century learning, it's not about feeding the instructions. It's more about you yourself as you are learning, you're also creating knowledge by yourself, you're also trying to be very creative with what you have learned to solve like problems. Okay, so let's go to Power BI desktop. Then I'm going to get data, and let's say I'm developing now, right? So Excel is my data source, and I'm using this Superstore data right here, which most people are going to be familiar with. Then on this file, I hope my Power BI is flowing nicely, and the visuals are not hanging. So this is the worksheet that we are going to work with. Okay, so if I click on this worksheet, you see a preview of what the data contains, but really, because I am Analyst General, I don't really care about this. So I just say this is the file I'm connected to, and I'll go to transform data inside of Power Query. At this point in development, I will start to factor in those 4 nodes. And the first note says that, let's say the second note, we already know the Excel, we've taken care of that. And the second note says that each country analyst should be able to release their own test reports from Power BI desktop. Okay, remember we are seeing it as from training point of view, not from deployment point of view. We are just improving skills. Okay, so now on Power BI, on Power Query, one thing everybody should always have available in their Power Query is you need to go to View tab in Power Query, and you need to ensure that you have your formula bar active, right? I'm not saying learn M language, but have formula bar active, because that way you also be able to learn some M languages. Then another thing is that you should also be able to transform to look at your Power Query steps on this right-hand side to be able to explain what's happening at each level. Now, to solve this problem of everybody being able to refresh. That means at the end of the day, the users will have to point this data source to their own PC. Okay, so if I look at my Power Query, the first step is source. And you see that the source is looking at a file path. Now we impute where whoever is using these reports should be able to supply their own file path so that they are going to be able to refresh. Because once I send this file to 50 different people, this file source still remains the same thing. And anytime they try to refresh, the data is going to try to connect to Ahmed Oyelowo's OneDrive, which they don't have access to. So they need to kind of like be able to change this thing to their own PC. And remember, they are just starting out, right? So you don't want to show them all those crazy things that you do inside of Power Query. So once you know that you are going to create this kind of input, something for them to be able to change something, then you are going to have to create parameter. Okay, so I'm going to remind you again that you should be very creative and you should create knowledge by yourself. So I'm teaching, but you should be creating your own knowledge. Start now already. I'm going to have asked one single question at the end of the day to see how far you understand this. Okay, right. So if I go to the Home tab, I have a button here that says Manage Parameters. So if I click on Manage Parameters, I'm going to say New Parameter for now. And my parameter, I'm going to give it a name. So let's just call this data source file path. Okay, so data source file path, I can put a description, say supply the file path to this file. Then I have data type, right? Which, just like standard Power Query, we have different data types that can represent every kind of value that you're supplying inside of Power Query. So for this one, I'm going to select text because that file path is going to be text. And then for suggested values, if I click on the drop down for suggested values, I can leave it as any value. I can leave as list of values. Now check what happens. If it's on any value, first you need to supply what's the current value of what you have there. You have to supply that one here. Okay. If you change it to list of values, then you need to create a list. You change it to query, then you need to supply different queries that you have inside your Power BI. Basically list. So let's first of all leave this as any value, and then I need to supply the current value. So the current value right now is this guy. Okay, so I'm unable to go here now except I close this and I try to come back again. But I'm going to show you how you copy file path from the source. So if I go back to my desktop and I want to see that file path, under data, I have this guy. So this is the file path now. So if you want to see this file path, if I want to copy it, if I go to right click to properties, of course, I can see something here, right? But this one basically stops at data. It doesn't carry the name of the file, which is superstore data. And the file path is going to have everything. So if I check Power Query, say I close this for now, you see that it also carries the name of the file, right? That's my main data source. So just merely doing this is not going to give us what we want. So the best way you can use to copy your file path is, first of all, select that file. Then if you right click on the file, you are going to see copy, right? However, if you select the file, you hold Shift before you right click, and you are going to see copy as path. Okay? If you don't hold Shift, you won't see copy as path. You see copy, right? So I'm going to select copy as path. Now I have the file path. I'll go back to my Power Query, go back to this again, and I'll say new parameter. I called it data source file path, and I put a description. I'm going to ignore that for now. So I said it's a text value, and I left it on any value. I'm going to supply the current path, which is this, right? But I want to put that without the leading and the ending double quotes. So I will remove the double quotes at the end. Click Home tab on my PC and remove the one at the beginning. So this is the current file path. And I'm going to click OK. Let me check left. You see I have a file path on my left and it carries this value. So if I supply any other value to this place, then that means I'm trying to change something. Okay, so next thing is I have this parameter now. I need to kind of like connect it to this, my main query, my orders query right here. So what I'll do is I'll go back to this source step, do a right click on the source step, and I'm going to say edit settings. Right here is where I started from. When I click get data, I browsed and I moved. Now I'm going to say that I don't want this thing to be an ordinary text anymore. I want to change it from here to be looking at a parameter, right? Not text, look at a parameter. Now I pick parameter. I should have a list of parameters here, and I only have one parameter for now. So I'm going to use that one, data source file path, and I'm going to click OK. Now I've changed the formula from looking at a long file path to be looking at whatever is inside this parameter, right? And if you remember, the parameter is where I now have my file path, which means if I give this file to someone, the person should be able to just, change his source and let it move, okay? So I'm going to go back to the main query. Everything works fine. I'm going to click close and apply. And now I can basically refresh data. Okay, so now if you think about it, if I come to home and I click on refresh, I shouldn't have any problems at all. Everything should work fine. However, if I go back to my desktop like this, and I open this file, go back to the data, and I'm going to move it from here with Control X. Then go back to the desktop, and I'm going to paste it on desktop, right? So I've changed the file path. I'm assuming that, okay, did open, saying it's no longer located. V, Y, okay. Okay, so it's now on the desktop now, Superstore data. So now if I go back to my Power BI and I do a refresh now, so I'm the other guy at the other end now, I'm refreshing. You see that Power BI is complaining that it can't find that file path anymore because it has changed. The source has now changed from where it was, right? Now from Power BI desktop, I can go to this transform data right here, and I can say edit parameters, and then I can now go and supply the new parameter, which is I'll go back to my desktop. Remember how I do this? Select the file, don't open it, hold Shift and right click, then select copy as path. Go back to this, my Power BI. I can use Control A to highlight everything, Control V to paste, but this basically comes with the double quotes, which I'm going to remove. Last one at the end, home key on my keyboard at the beginning, then click OK. Apply changes. And it works, right? So now if I refresh, no complaints, which basically means whenever it gets to the person at the other end, maybe they have to come here, I don't know, maybe they have to come here, edit parameters and supply their own file path, and everything is going to be fine. So let's assume that we've solved problem number one. Now, problem number two, each country or city only wants to focus on their own port, right? So they are ignoring all other countries or all other cities. Okay, so if we go back and I go to transform data, I have one column here for city, for example. So I have a column here for city, and it has a list of cities like that, okay? So if you think about it, I can just basically go and create another parameter. So go to manage parameters, select new parameter, and I can say that this is create another parameter. So go to manage parameters, select new parameter, and I can say that this is my CT, and then type can also be a text, and the suggested values can also remain on any value, and I can say that my current value, assuming, let's say, LOS, then ANGELS, right? Something like this. If I click OK, I have that my city, and this is the current value. Now, if I go back to orders, at the end of the day, when this person completes the entire thing and they want to click close and apply, expectation is that the only thing that should come in as per city should be Los Angeles, right? So this city that should go in is Los Angeles, so every other city should be ignored. Now, thinking about that, one way I could use to leave only LA is maybe let's come to where I have LA, do a right click on this LA, then go to text filters and say equals LA, right? So if I do this equals LA, then the only thing I have here is LA. However, when it gets to the users, if you look at the end formula, you see the last thing you see here is what? It's Los Angeles, right? Now, the users will need to be able to change this Los Angeles to their own city so that they can see what they have. So for example, if I go back to the previous step, I also have this guy called Henderson. So if I copy this Henderson now, copy this, I go back to my step of filtered rows and I change this right here to that one, and I check formula that it's okay. You see that it basically changes to this. Now, what you want to do is you want to create something that allows people to create this change naturally without having to come to Power Query to manually change this, okay? So what you do is this. So I'm going to copy what I have. Let's say, okay, let's say I'm not going to copy for now. Now, what I need to do is I need to tie this city equals to this thing. I need to tie it to this my city parameter, right? Remember what's inside this city parameter now is Los Angeles. If I tie it to this thing, that you would expect that it should no longer show Henderson, it should now show Los Angeles. Okay, so one thing I'm still going to do again is I'm going to go back to that same step, and I'm going to do a right click on that step to edit settings. Then I'm going to say, no, it says keep rows where city equals to this, which means it's expecting you to type a text. And I'm saying, don't type a text, use an input box. So this is where I'm going to have to come right here, and I'm going to say use a parameter. And then the parameter I wanted to use is my city. Whatever is in my city is what I'm filtering. Then I'll click OK. And you see it is back to Los Angeles because the formula is now select rows where the city is equal to whatever is inside my city, which is LA. So if I do close and apply again, everything should be fine, right? Which means whenever this gets to the user, so assuming that they're basically creating one report like this, let's even use a simple card. Okay. And let's see what you have on this card is sales. You have sales on the card, and it's showing 175.85K. But remember, this is Los Angeles. When it gets to the other guy, which is Henderson, wants Henderson to show, right? So that means the person will still, maybe, I'm not sure if that's the answer, have to come to transform data, go to edit parameters, and change this my city here to our own city, which is 175.85K now, and apply changes. see is now 17.55. That means it's now oblique to the person's city. Let's see. What's the next thing? The next thing is this. Every branch sales and profits are recorded as the has to be a conversion to their currency, which means there will be an exchange. So I'm going to go back to Power Query, go to transform data. So now let's assume that there is one fixed exchange rate. This is just a case study right now. And what we're saying now that these sales that we have right here, this sales is in USD. This profit is also in USD. We want to convert them to currency. So assuming 385, for example, arbitrary number. So what that means is I need to select this column, go to transform data, go to under the standard thing that I have here, and I'm say multiply this guy by 5. I'll click OK. You see, that works. I'm going to go back to profits, select profits, standard, multiply this guy. So I have to, you see, my formula says times 385. Already, you know what we have to do. Let's even assume discount as well, right? But let's just ignore discount. So, you know, based on what you have learned so far, I need to find a way to make this so I become parameter. So I'm just going to 385. Then back to manage parameters, need parameter, and then I'm going to call my exchange. And then my data type now is number, it's a decimal number. And then my suggested values is any value. So that 3, 5 right here. Say I have that 385 change rules. Basically, just go back to my step right here. I can come into 3 or come here to say right click, edit settings that I want here, right? So in this case, there is no way I can say that this is equal to parameter right here. So I'm going to have to manually come to this 385 right here. So let's start from this one. Let's multiply, which is for the sales. Say 5 and use something change, use this guy, check. See, everything still works by 385. Go to the other one, change this 385 and change it to change, check, 5. Remember that sales has now been multiplied by exchange rates. So it's now 6.76 million. And when it gets to the next guy, when it gets to every user of this file, to be able to transform data, to edit parameters, and change this rate to something. So if I change this to 400 pounds, change this to, then it's going to 6.76 to 1. The changes. It has now right. So now we have basically covered all these things. So one more thing that we need to do. Remember that we are going to send this to 50 different people. And if we are going to help them out in 2 bits, what that means is we don't want them to basically have to right here to transform data and then to edit parameters and start to edit each one of these parameters. Right? We want to help them out. We want to see get go. So what that means is instead of going to file, I'm about to deploy, I'm about to send to them, go to save as. I'm just going to give it a name. I'll call it reporting. What do you think this name should be? Since I'm sending it to 50 people, what should it be? Reporting what? What's the best word to use now? Any help? I don't know. What should I use? Please tell me. Tell me now. Anyone, please.
Reporting file.
Reporting file. Okay, so reporting file. Is there any other suggestion? Now send it to 50 people, and each of the 50 people will have to make their own changes. Sending just this single file, but we have to make changes to the file. What do you think it should be? I need help. I don't want to use file. Reporting file is fine, but I'm trying to use file. Sorry? Say it again.
Reporting universe.
Reporting universe. I need one more suggestion.
Will template work?
Okay, so let's say reporting templates. Okay, reporting templates. Yeah, so I think I like templates. So reporting templates. Now there's only one thing I'm going to have to change now. Now, instead of just save like this, what I'm going to do, let me just save like this for now. So let's say I save reporting templates, my desktop. Then I close. It has gotten to the user. I'm now the user now. And this is the file right here, reporting templates. I'm going to open this file. I am not from Henderson. My exchange rate is not 400. When I open the file, first thing I'm going to see is all the defaults that were there from. That's the first thing I'm going to see. So this is the first thing that I will see when I open the file. However, my sales is not 7.02 million, definitely. And the first thing I do is I try to do a refresh. When I do a refresh, the data source is going to be different from mine. Refresh is not going to work. That's one. Two, sales number is not going to be correct because it's not for my own city, and also because exchange rate is also different. Okay, so instead of saving the file as reporting templates straight up like that, I have to do a file, do save as, and then right here where you have Power BI file as a type, change this to Power BI, which is PBIT. So Power BI file is PBIX, Power BI template is PBIT. And when you change to PBIT, let me see, put it on the desktop. I was going to put SGS templates. Then I'm going to save. Now I need to put a description right here. So I'll put things like, let's say, bytes or file path. Select, type in your city, type in city. Finally, I will say supply exchange. Say, so now when I close this, I may not save this one back to my desktop. I'm going to see another one with an S, which is a template. Okay, now I open up these templates now. First thing that shows is all my parameters, which means I don't need them to start going right here. So from get-go of opening, I need to supply file path. I need to supply city, and I need to supply exchange rate. Okay, so let's go and grab the file path first. So back to my desktop, and file, select the file, do shifts and right click. Then I can say as path back to here. This is the path out TT type S A N S change and have my solution, right? So I have data that meets my requirements. I can now decide to start. So now just one last thing I conclude. Perhaps there's a possibility that where this person is supposed to type in Los Angeles, the person just puts LA. Basically, is not inside the data. LA is not inside the data, so it's not going to find the right solution. And which means I could basically have tried to key all my cities. Let's copy a couple. So copy cities from cities. Duplicates. So I have just 12. Say I'm sending to 12, right? So copy this 12. Go to my Power Query to transform data. And let's try and see. Can't find source, edit settings, I don't know. Copy as path. I have that file, so it's fine. That's my Power Query. Fine now. Should be fine. It's not fine. So let me go. Click as path back to our query to edit settings. That's source. Yeah. Sorry. Fine. Okay. So now this is my city right here. Maybe I'm going to try to see and manage. So I don't want people to mistakenly type the wrong thing, right? So I can come to manage parameter and I'll try to change it from any value to a list of value. That's like I'm validating it. Okay, I'm starting out. This one, see, paste that one right here. See, V. Yeah. So I've pasted all of those ones right here, and I'm going to say current value is LA. I put a default value as well, LA. Okay. So now if I do close and apply, the expectation now is that, when they open the file and this box basically just have to go and select their own seat and everything should work. So my question that I have for you is this. Random. I have just 1 minute. So my own question before your own question is, based on what you have seen so far, where are the areas where you can actually create parameters inside Power Query? What do you think you can create parameters for in Power Query? Based on the different ones I have done, right? First one, change something. Say which parameter insert. Second one, I change something. I say this parameter. Same. what do you notice in terms of patterns to all of them? What are the noticeable patterns that you saw? Anyone? I'm going to stop sharing.
Someone said text data type. Mr. Dako said text data type.
So this data type, correct. What else? What do you think? You know that thing.
Okay, I think you see the chat now.
Yeah. So now say something.
Another person said unique data set.
Unique data sets. What else? You can say something. You can say something. It's knowledge.
Another person said, Raphael said, all add DAX form. I don't know if he's answering or is another question, but he said what he wrote is all hard DAX formula bar. Like all hard DAX formula bar.
So that's like everything inside the formula bar.
Okay, maybe that was what.
Okay, so let me tell you what my expectation was in terms of knowledge created. Now look at these steps. Any part of the steps where you see an inside your formula, anywhere you can use a parameter for. When you see something like this, for example, item is equals to this. You can change this to a parameter. Kind is equals to sheet. You know, you can change this to a parameter and allow it to manually change what it is. Everywhere you see manual values, like Excel, you call it hard coding. Where you see hard coding like this in your Power Query, somewhere where you use parameters for. So now, when I was filtering, I was just supposed to equals to Los Angeles or equal to something. I'm going to change that something right there, which was previously hard coded to be. So anywhere you see anything like that. So I don't know if anyone was a part of our WhatsApp group. A couple of weeks ago, maybe months ago, I sent in a file, a Power BI file, for people to decode. They are decoded. So I'm going to share that file today. Based on what you have learned so far, you are going to use knowledge to create your own knowledge. You are going to be try to put whatever is happening, whatever is wrong, that's fine. So this, I hope that you have learned one or two things when you have faced any challenge that relates to you having to template to they change it based on what applies to them specifically. So I have a question. Someone has a question, right?
Yeah, Raphael's hand is up.
Okay.
So I want to ask for the question, the file you want to share now. Thanks for sharing it. Is there a place where all the expectations, like what we are looking for that you want us to find, will it be included in the file, or where can we get that for those of us that will be having access to it for the first time?
Yeah, so the file I'm going to share does not tell you what you need to do, right? But once you open the file, you're going to encounter it. Right? Now, when you encounter that problem, based on the knowledge you have gained so far, I will need you to try to solve it. When you solve the problem,
okay,
just take a screenshot and share what you have seen. You share your final output. Take a screenshot. and we know that yes,
Okay.
this person has understood the concepts that we have today. Thank you for that. Any other questions for me? Mr. Oladapo?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you very much. And well, I've really learned a lot today talking about parameters. I've used it for some other things, but you know, I never used it this way that you've used it. But particularly, you know, sharing it with people, and for them to have direct filter, you know, onto their own data sets. It's wonderful. Thank you for that again. Now, my question is this: in a situation where, you know, when you were doing that, I was looking at the currency rate, right? And I'm looking at the environment where you have probably a regional office. For example, you have Nigeria covering West Africa. So, which means being the data analyst for Nigeria, I should be able to see currency rates or data for Nigeria, for Ghana, right, for and some other 2 or 3 African countries. Now, my concern is this: how do I manage the currency table? You know, the exchange rate for the currency. Do I need to have a table for currency that I'll now, you know, that I'll now build a relationship around, such that when I select the country, I'm able to see the currency. You know, I'm just thinking, right? And I'd like to have your insight about that. Thank you.
Okay, so basically I understand where that is coming from, and like I said, this that we have covered basic understanding the concept. But if you have to do something like that, what I developed is a situation where I have to bring in 2 files, right? So I'm not only going to bring in orders, right? Also bring in another file that has exchange rates of those countries, right? So let me just do it. So let's say I brought in another file, for example, and it's called this ER, and you have GH, have N, have say you have CM, Cameroon, and this is exchange rate table. Say, now somewhere right here, you have to come to your query right here. So your exchange rates are already here to add another column to it for the purpose. So settings, add another column, 200, 2000. Say okay, right? So I have this. Let's make it a number. So right here, right? I didn't name that column. Exchange rates, and so now I'm going to have to come to somehow easiest way to go about this using the UI to go and do a merge queries, and then want to some RC is on the countries, right? So select the matching country here. That's a completely different conversation. So basically what we are just trying to do is this file, sorry. Okay, so from this file now, I'm going to bring in this column, this exchange rates that's going to apply to every country. So that exchange rate is going to be somewhere here as in, right, which I can now say sales and my exchange rate, right? So easiest way to go about that one right now, have another file for the exchange rates to factor in to your query, so that at the point where they are bringing in the file, they're not only supplying their data source, also some exchange rate table. And you can also have that basically on the same file if you like, but there will always be different ways to see that. That's the easiest answer I can provide right now to manage something. Have a separate file, your exchange rates, bring it in using merge queries, run your queries to multiply by that exchange rate, that new file.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Questions?
It seems someone also has a question. A lot of people have questions for you today. So there is Olani Adeoye.
Okay, please shoot.
Well done, Mr. Ahmed. Yes, I was just thinking about the response you just gave now, and I was wondering, just following the line of thought, would he have added any value if instead of merging the exchange rate table to the entire table, and you create it as a table as part of the model to use only when it's required?
Yeah, so like I said, there are always many ways to spin the cat. So this route I'm going through now does not involve writing any DAX. Otherwise, would have created a data model in DAX and use a formula to just load the table, don't do merge queries, right? Load the table, the connection, data model. Use either a DAX formula to bring it in as a calculated column to whatever. Depending on how sophisticated we want to about it. Using the parameters to answer the question. So you use it as a parameter. That's the easiest method to go. We're not going to use as a parameter, then bring in the table separately, and then create a connection in the data model, write some text more. That answer the question.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
More questions? So let me also add this one just before we finish that. For that file that we're going to share today, and for people that are going to, let me drop a little bit of how you should about it. So just 1 second. Right? So to your Power BI, you have a Power BI account. So if you go to your Power BI like this, towards the top right, space where you can sign into your Power BI account. Okay, so if you use the file, make sure you are signed into your Power BI account. Just share screenshots when you are done to show that you're able to crack it. And when you now crack it like that and you short like 5 to Power BI bootcamp that is starting. So first 5 people to crack it basically are going to join the bootcamp.
So I'm trying to with those, because the group is almost filled on the WhatsApp, should I share the Telegram one?
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to share it on both WhatsApp and Telegram.
Okay. I've shared the Telegram. Maybe I'll also share the WhatsApp, but I know that one is filled.
Boss Michael.
Sir?
Does the information that is always released on WhatsApp, is it also released simultaneously on the Telegram for those that will be joining Telegram, since the WhatsApp is almost full?
It's not always so.
I think for announcements for Michael, if it's announcements, always drops it on both apps. In the house, just asking questions doesn't. One person just wants to ask a question. Doesn't might not have Telegram or may nothing. Small announcement from Michael to go to. So I guess I have no more questions, right?
It seems you've answered all the questions.
Okay, so you guys are going to enjoy my own channel next month. And remember, join the next bootcamp, absolutely free. Hopefully, I've been shouting for people to come and write Power BI exams, right? So when you crack this,
them details of the upcoming bootcamp.
yeah. See, do I have anything? Let's see. Bootcamp basically is supposed to go through learning path for Power BI certification exam. I have a lot of topics to cover there. So the bootcamp is supposed to treat each topic and each concept that they are going to test in the exam. So when you attend the bootcamp, you are better prepared to write that exam using your own knowledge. I know there are so many shortcuts that I can use to write the exam. There are exam dumps out there. If you attend the bootcamp, you stand a better chance passing the exams without using. Even if you use brain dumps have suggested solutions. They don't have actual solutions. They don't know what Microsoft thinks the answer is, right? So those guys have used suggested solutions. And when you attend the bootcamp, all you can do, even if you have to use brain dumps, which I don't advise you do, is that when you see their own answer, second guess the answer and say, this one is correct, right? So I think this should be it. And then you probably want to do that research. So you're not just taking it for, so this can be supposed to take you to Power BI exam, concept-wise, knowledge-wise, and tips as well. Yeah. So I'll have 5 lucky people, our Power BI.
When should we submit our screenshots to? Sorry.
As the minute I send it to you, the first 5 people are joining. First 5. First 5 people to submit are the ones that are going to join. So
yeah, yes, like where should we submit it to? Like a mail address, Michael's address, email address.
Just take a picture. Just take a picture and send it to, right? Either Telegram or WhatsApp. You get it?
Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like straight answer. Just remember that you need to capture your right so that people don't copy other people's pictures to send. So make sure you are signed in. I can see your name when you're signed in.
Okay. So
Right.
thanks a lot, and I think you've done a good justice to both the topic, the interaction. I like the way you try to make people think first, then now show them the way about what it is that you have asked. And so that's a very way of achieving a lot in 1 hour. So they are not just passive learning, passive participants, they're actively. I like that approach. And thanks also for the offer you've given to those who have joined today's sessions, and at least the benefit of them joining in the challenge. So I know, we hope, let me not say I know, we hope that we'll still get more and more over the months and all from you. But thank you once again. And to everybody who has joined, who has stayed this long too, thank you. And so I wish every one of us a pleasant week ahead. And to our guest again, thank you very, very much for the amazing session. So I think I have to say bye-bye now.
So you are going to have it.
We're going to have.
So hopefully we are going to have a part 2 of this where we take it a step further.
Yes, so And I'm still waiting for the one you did, like, was it 2 years ago, where the money was in dollars? You gave us dollars.
This economy.
No dollars again.
Yeah, I still have that in mind. I have that in mind.
Awesome. All right. So thanks a lot to everyone.
All right, bye-bye.